Hello and welcome to the Axe Life Podcast. I'm Vinny, and with me today is Aaron Corbin.
What is up? What is up?
Oh, not much. We're just going to do some real axe talk today. We've got a couple of interesting topics today. We're going to talk about how Aaron got into the World Championships for the World Axe Throwing League happening in April in Tulsa. And then we're also going to kind of talk about the sport writ large and how it plays into accessibility for individuals that maybe can't or are limited to play other sports or activities and how that plays in. So, Aaron, tell us about yourself. What do you do? How long you been throwing? You've been on the podcast before, like in the podcast world, but normally behind the camera.
Yeah, I was about to say it's very different to be on this side of things. You know, I'm so used to sitting behind the scenes and kind of doing the awkward noises that are going on with like whatever sound effects we got going on or transitions. So being on this side is very different. But yeah, I've been throwing since October of 2022, as you would know, because I started by coming in brother's birthday party, and then Vinny started throwing with me, and then a couple weeks later he's like, "Do you want a job?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So
it was teaching you the Canadian flick.
It was the Canadian flick that I went on to win the tournament of my younger brother and all of his friends, which doesn't really. It's not very impressive because I mean I was older. I learned the flick. I think Vinny gave me like a fancier axe, so I should have won.
I'd still lord it over his head.
Oh, absolutely.
When he wakes up in the morning, I'd be like, "Hey, good morning."
Remember how you lost?
You lost.
Every day I want you to remember that day. So I started throwing then, and then October, like middle of October on, was working at Broad Axe, throwing, practicing, and then in January starting of 2023 is when I did my first competitive league, started throwing competitively. And then throughout the year, went to like we had a tournament here, we had Masters of Axes, and then went to Knoxville for a tournament, went to Florida for a tournament. I think those three are the only three I did. And then a bunch of marathon leagues and our typical leagues and stuff. I think at the end I counted like 8 different leagues, 3 different tournaments, and now Worlds in April. So
yeah, we're going to talk about how you made your way into Worlds, but why do you find it that that it's special, if you will, that you're a big part? I'm a very active member, you know, with all the marathon leagues, the leagues that you've attended, and the tournaments, that you're able to do that because, I mean, you're going to share something personal with us today.
So for those of you who don't know, if you've ever been at a tournament with me, I become known, I feel like, as like the purple hands guy. I got purple hands, and I have a chronic illness, and it's an autoimmune disease. It affects, you know, my hands. It affects a lot of different aspects of me, you know, there have been days, you know, I was diagnosed when I was 12, I think, and then there are days, months, weeks that I've been, you know, out of commission, out of school, you know, going to high school and stuff like that, that I've been sick and just couldn't do anything. I couldn't play sports throughout my high school, you know, teenager. And it sucked because when I was young, I played football, basketball, baseball. Like I was outside, I was active. And, you know, being diagnosed with that, it was a big blow because, you know, I can't do it now. You know, I've got to be inside. And so
I mean, the one symptom that you've shown us is you have purple hands.
Yeah.
But so it affects your hands. And I know somebody else with
Raynaud's. What it's called.
Yeah. You know, your hands get real cold real fast. So how does that like physically feel for you? And considering axe throwing is kind of a handsy sport,
kind of a little bit.
Like, you know, no kidding. How does that affect you?
It really depends. Like sometimes there are days where my hands are like purple up to almost my wrists.
Yeah.
And I don't really notice it. There are times people will be like, dude, your hands are really purple. And I'll look down and be like, oh shoot, yeah, they are. One of my favorite things is if it's someone that is like new, but I feel like, like they kind of pass the vibe check. They're cool and I can mess with them. Is if they're like, dude, your hands are purple, and I'm like, oh no, oh, call the ambulance. Like, it's mean, but it's kind of funny. I don't let it go on long, but I'm like, nah, I'm just messing with you. It's fine. But
now, do you have a loss of sensation in your hands?
Sometimes. It rare. It has to be. So the biggest thing is changes in temperature, which most axe throwers know. It's usually pretty cold. Most times I've gone to venues, it's usually colder rather than warmer in a venue. So going, especially during the summer when it's hot outside, going into a cold place, you'll see I'll be purple within, a couple minutes. It is what it is. But when I do have that loss of sensation, when I'm throwing, I just kind of got to make it through. I just got to kind of keep pushing and try my best. Once I'm off the lane, I'll probably be like somewhere just like,
yeah,
and
then people are like, well, it's like, 66 degrees in here. Yeah, it's
Georgia.
June in
What
Georgia.
Are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
he's got like those hand warmers crushed up.
Yeah, exactly. For Christmas, I got a little portable hand warmer thing, and then those gloves that have like the hand warming, like the batteries built in to where it warms your hand. But as a whole, it actually hasn't impacted me as much as I thought it would. And I think part of that is just my throw. It doesn't rely on like, I just kind of got to throw. Like it's more that wrist and the hands. As long as I can grip the axe, I'm pretty good. But yeah.
Now, is it just your hands, or are your feet affected, or?
Feet, not as much. I mean, they also turn purple. They also get cold, all that stuff. With my illness specifically, to me, I have the most noticeable is my hands, visibly. I also have arthritis with it, so those are the days where I'll like wake up and I look like what was his Tim Conway from the Carol Burnett show when he like shuffles around.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like, and it. Ooh, that chair is.
Yeah,
it's
if you hear some squeaking,
it's me. Just
we need a little bit
around.
of WD-40 up in this joker, but it's okay.
But I mean, that's what I sound like when I've got. I'm like, ugh.
Oh yeah, we'll just blame it on your bones.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Whatever.
But yeah, joints and muscle fatigue and soreness and all those things. When I'm like that, there's only one time I can remember throwing, and it usually happens when I get sick, when I catch a bug or something like that. It all flares up. And there was one league night where I started to get sick. I got like the chills and I was like, oh no, this is not going to be good. And I started that night throwing, I want to say like a high 50s game. Like it was good. I think I went for one kill shot and hit it. Like I remember it being like, that's a good game. And then after that, all my games just went just straight down. Like
we just thought you were making excuses.
I mean, it is an excuse.
I know, I'm joking.
No, I mean, but that was the one time I'm like, this is affecting my throwing. This is not good.
If it can kind of just come on, if like, let's just say you catch a bug or whatever, and at any time it could come on, is that a mental factor too, where you're like, I don't know if you traveled for a tournament or something, I mean, you are going to Worlds, and do you just have your fingers crossed saying, boy, I hope I have a good weekend with not be affected by this?
Partially, it is a hope of, I hope I don't get sick.
Yeah, I hope I don't get sick.
I know for Worlds, I'm driving and I'm going to be in the car for 14 hours or whatever. So it's kind of like, ooh, I hope I don't like get cramp up and stiff having to be in the car. And the other part of it is just a mental fortitude of like, if I am, then throw as good as I can.
Yeah.
Then just like,
man.
Be proud of what you did, throw better, and just keep going. Like, don't let it, if it does happen, it happens. Like that's one of the biggest things, having it, years and years now, where it's just kind of like, this is the cards I was dealt. Now I just got to play my hand.
That's a good attitude, man. I like that.
I mean, the alternative is just like, man, this is bumming me at all.
I didn't do well because of
making excuses. And there'll be times I'm like, man, I could have thrown better. I didn't feel good, and that can be upsetting. but if you I feel like, and I feel like it doesn't matter who you are. If you throw axes, you would agree that a big part of sport is your mental fortitude, your mindset.
That's right.
And so it's kind of like, what mindset are you going to have? Now, it doesn't matter if you're sick, healthy, it doesn't matter how you're coming into it. It's like, what is your mindset when it comes to, I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
We must have an update. Wait,
Yeah.
excuse me. What's the update?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think a lot of it plays on mindset. I mean, everybody has bad days, regardless if it's, something autoimmune or otherwise, where, you just have to throw better, push through whatever it is that you're dealing with. And, I mean, obviously I'm not comparing, uh, environmental effects to, say, an autoimmune disease, but at Pro-Am, you would have hated it, bro. So the heat was broken in Appleton, Wisconsin.
I would have shown up with
the,
my hand warmers and
you would have been one of the
blanket.
few guys that were in the bathroom, because the heat in the bathroom worked, and people would be huddled around. It was kicking. It was like this heater, and people go into the bathroom just to warm up. And but it radiated through the floor, through your shoes. It was just cold. And you could either focus on that and say, "Oh, this is bull that we have to throw in such conditions," or you could just say, "This is what we're throwing in this weekend. Let's go." Like there's Angrywood, which is a tournament that happens out in Oklahoma, and it's an outdoor tournament. So when you step there, that there might be wind, there might be adverse conditions that you would have to throw in, and you just have to look at it and say, these are the conditions I'm throwing in today. What adjustments do I have to make mentally in order to push and persevere through this? And I'm going to throw the best that I can. So
Exactly.
I super appreciate, the attitude that you maintain with that. And earlier, you were talking about that you thought it kind of stunk that, you played football and then there was some limiting factors of what you could do sports wise. And then all of a sudden axe throwing. So tell me what you think, why it's kind of special to you. Axe
Absolutely.
throwing is something that you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like that is probably what I love the most about this sport is just you can be anyone. Like you can be anyone and throw axes competitively. I mean, all it takes is you just going to your local venue and being like, "Hey, I'd like to join your league." And then that's it. And so I love it because I was that guy that I wanted to play the sports. I remember, waking up on a game day morning and like going out, throwing on my like shoulder pads when I played football, looking out, seeing the other team, being like, "All right, let's do this." And like I remember that feeling, and losing that sucked so much. But it's not the same, but it's still a competitive atmosphere. It's a competitive place to show up and still get that adrenaline pumping, going up and stepping up next to someone and that you've seen throwing throughout a tournament, and you're like, "Oh shoot, I gotta beat this guy." Like I just saw him throw a 62. That means like I gotta throw a 63. And those nerves and all that tournament atmosphere is the closest thing I've been able to have that kind of replaces and replicates those years I missed out on.
Sure.
And I think that is the beauty of axe throwing, is that anyone could do it. Like it doesn't matter who you are. If you want to compete in a sport, you can, and you just and it doesn't take a lot. I mean, I know working at a venue, a lot of people come in and they're like, "Oh, this is really fun. I've never done this before." And I'm like, it's a hobby you can start. And they're like, "Really? Like, how so?" And, or they'll come in and be like, "Do y'all have leagues? Like, how can I do this more?" And it's like, we have leagues. Like, you come, you can pay the league fee and compete every single week. Like for us on Tuesday nights, you get to come and compete with people. And then the beauty is you can go to tournaments and you can go other places and travel if you want to. But the flip side, and then the other beautiful side of that coin, is if you don't want to, you don't have to. And unlike, basketball and football and all those like sports, like team sports
Right.
or team sports,
They're relying on you to show up.
They're relying on you, but you're also relying on them.
So that's a really good point because if you do have physical limiting factors, targeting an individual sport, it's kind of up to you whether or not you can make it that day or not. So, I never really gave a lot of thought to that. So, yeah, good point.
Well, and that's what I think the beauty of it is in this sport, your success is up to you.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I didn't get to go to all the tournaments I wanted to. Why? They were there. There's a whole like post where you can now finances come into that for sure. Finance and other things.
Life obligations.
But they're there. They're there for you.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to where it's like, oh, you have to be this type of person to get in. It's
correct. Yeah.
All these are just like, you want to come throw with us, come throw with us. Like I remember when we had Masters of Axes, like so many people showed up that it's just like, we never had only this certain axe thrower can come compete in our tournament. No, it was, if you want to, even if you've never thrown before, you want to come throw, come throw. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it is like, it's there for you if you have the means to take it, but it's there for you. And your success again is up to you. Are you going to practice? Are you going to put in the work to not only grow your throw, but grow your mental fortitude and take it seriously?
Yeah.
That choice is up to you. You don't have to rely on anyone.
A good majority, sorry about that. A good majority of this sport is mental. I mean, and I agree with you on that. And so, we had hosted, let's see, it was 2020 when they let us open back up. There was this weird time period in the city that we live in that if you were a business, you were allowed to open back up, but there were certain businesses that still were shut down, and that include bars. So our downtown scene, if you will, was kind of barren because we're in the food and drink district of downtown Augusta, Georgia. And so it was like, well, we've got the availability and for our lanes, let's do something cool with it. And I partnered with an organization that provided support to lower extremity amputees. It was a veteran program. And they were trying to identify whether or not axe throwing would make a good adaptive sport for lower leg amputees. So everybody was throwing in the seated position. And there was rules already built into the World Axe Throwing League, the Waddle rule set about people in wheelchairs, and just one wheel has to be behind the 12-foot line, etc. And then you make one additional concession, which is the expert or the judge goes and retrieves the axes and after they score them. So not a whole lot of modification, and we ran a 6-week league, and we proved that from a seated position, an axe can be thrown very accurately. These guys got real competitive real fast. And everybody was super stoked to come back every week. And we saw an improvement from, we're just trying to get you to stick the axe on week 1 to, kill shots called, kill shot left, kill shot right. Here we go.
Let's go.
Like, so we proved that, it should definitely be taken seriously as an adaptive sport. And I think with the emergence of, or the increased popularity of, say, a sport like pickleball, there's a couple different factors of why pickleball is now becoming slightly more popular. One is because Ryan Reynolds and Kevin Hart play it, Okay, so you got the celebrity buy-in aspect.
Come on,
yeah,
need to get
Ryan
him
Reynolds is cool.
Get him axe throwing.
Yeah, I know. That Deadpool is like probably right on.
Exactly.
So, yeah. But what it also is it's a sport in which, as you advance in age, look, I'm 46 years old. Okay. The thing that I mastered as a child when it came to sports, which was an individual sport, I was a gymnast. That's not happening. That's not happening as a 46-year-old. I'm not even going, that's another life. It's not happening.
As a 21-year-old with arthritis, it's not happening for me either.
Right. But but there's still instilled in me growing up, especially with two brothers and stuff. I have that competitive thing that it's an itch that needs to be scratched. And, it was either this or curling. You know what I mean? Like, because I like to have a sport where I could set short-term and long-term goals for myself and find a fulfillment in achieving those goals. So that's why because axe throwing, you're throwing axes at the board. You could get proficient at sticking it, but then you cross a certain Rubicon at some point where the difference between throwing axes and mastering accurate throwing, those are two totally different beasts. And when you start edging into the other one, it's now you started a different game for yourself. And do you want to continue down that path? And setting just short-term goals for yourself where you're like 80% bullseye rate, whatever, winning this many tournaments, make them realistic for yourself, but get out there and compete. If that's something that's built into you, kind of like it was with me, I needed it, and I'm grateful for axe throwing having come along and being introduced in my life.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of it, is like setting those goals. I know when I started, you and Dylan and all the people that came to help me with my throw, you're like, I've already gone through a lot of the different things that work and the things that don't work, and here are the things that work. And I was like, sweet, let me take those and apply and figure out what things work for me, what things don't. And
it's not going to be the same for everyone.
It's not going to be the same for everyone, which is another like great thing, because then you can make it your own. It's not, I don't have Vinny's throw. Right. I don't. It's different, but I have my throw. But
I don't think I've ever seen you throw without a hat on, for example.
I don't.
Right.
I don't.
I cannot throw with a hat on. I can't throw when I've shaved my head that day.
See, I don't shave my head.
I know, but I'm just telling you an example. Like, even if I'm forecasting it, like, for example, the Pro-Am, I knew I was throwing on Sunday. I wanted to look good on TV. But I shaved my head on Saturday, so I had a little bit of stubble, because like I'll start to sweat and then the blade will stick to my head, and it not every time, but maybe 1 out of 50 throws, I'll catch a piece of sweat and it doesn't come off clean, and I didn't want it to happen. So very strange. Like, so everybody's got their own individualized style. I love it.
Yeah, it's and watching other people's, because everyone is different. You see people throw and you're like, should that work?
Yes.
Why does that work? But then you can try it yourself and be like, that doesn't work for me. Or, wow, that's interesting. Let me take pieces of that, incorporate it.
I know I've brought this individual up. Now, this will be the second time, but still, I think about it. At the Pro-Am preliminary rounds, Leslie Wellman, that there's like, in your mind, you would never think that throw was going to work. Her throwing style is like kind of a two-handed throwing style. I think one's more of a guide, but it's like 3 fingers at the very bottom of the hatchet overhead and straight over her head like this. Deadly accurate. Like, and even with her step and her correction or whatever, her throw looks like a different throw every time she throws it. But bullseye, 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 kill shot. I mean, like, it just blew me away. I've rewatched it and going, that shouldn't even work, because like the blade is flat against her back when she throws it, and it comes over straight, and then boom, right in the bullseye. So but at some point she must have tried everything else and said, this is the thing that works the best for me.
Yeah.
And this is my throw.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, love it. Having different throws and everyone have their own styles is so cool, especially in those tournament settings where you get to just watch and be like, okay, interesting. And then thinking through like, well, what is that? What is it going to be like when I'm throwing against them and I see them doing that, but it's against me. And then like those goals that you're talking about. I remember when I started, you told me like, 4 or better, get a 4 or better. When I first started, stick every axe,
right.
don't have any drops, and then 4 or better. And
right.
then,
it's like bogey golf. Bogey golf is good golf.
Yeah, exactly.
But then once you are pretty consistent at bogeying, you want to start hitting some pars.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
I'm still trying to get to the bogey part in golf. I mean,
Baloney.
I'm,
You're
disc
being
golf,
humble.
that's one thing, but but
Oh, we're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about golf. I thought you were talking about axe throwing. I was like, no. You're far better.
No, yeah, I
Yeah.
was talking about golf. I see that was
Yeah.
golf, disc golf, and axe throwing were the three kind of sports I picked up or have picked up. Um, Golf is my worst. I enjoy it. It's my worst.
Mm.
Axe throwing's my best. So that's why I put more stock into that.
There you go.
But yeah, my goal originally was 4 or better, and then it turned into 5 or better, and then it turned into like 5 or better, but hit a kill shot. And then now it's like, okay, try to just throw as best as you can. Go for a perfect game if you can.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of course that's what you want.
That's what you want.
But I've given myself a little bit of leeway. I consider my game a success if and I consider the game broken up into 2 sections. One, and I'm only talking about 2023 right now, since we're about to talk about the World Championship.
Absolutely.
So I will give myself 2 5s to consider it a success. I probably, depending on who I'm throwing against, I might not be happy with that anyway, but I'll give myself 2 5s during those 8 throws. And then of course I have additional goals for my kill shots. But if I on the turn already have 2 5s, then I don't know, I'm kind of miffed at myself once I move over, because I'm like, I've already used them up.
Yeah.
If I go 1 and 1 and then we go to kills, I'm like, okay, it would be like walking off the hole where you're like, okay, well, at least I parred that hole. So anything above that is gravy. That's just kind of how I think about it.
I think mine is getting that 60 or better.
60 or better is a good goal.
Yeah, I think mine. That's when I'm like, okay, that was a good game. If it's in the 50s, I'm like, eh. If it's 55 or better, I'm like, eh. If it's below that, it's probably I missed a kill or 2.
Yeah.
If I miss 2, I'm in the 40s. So,
yeah.
But 60 or better for me is like, okay, I had a good game there.
Yeah.
Because then that gives me 4 5s, and then I've got to hit both my kills, or maybe 2 5s and I only go up once.
Right.
So that's kind of my goal for myself currently, and trying to get to where I can hit that consistently.
Well, going back to those physical limitations, one of the things that people even kind of joke with me, back in the day, bowling was on network television, like on Sunday. I think I don't know what channel it was, but it was Channel 9 in Chicago. You would watch some sort of regional or national level bowling tournament. My father would watch it. I mean, he would bowl, but he wasn't trying to be a competitive bowler or anything. And and the athletes, if you will, are not what you would pick out of a lineup and say that is a professional athlete.
Yeah.
I think that axe throwing is kind of akin to that, where people, not everybody is a hulking, physical specimen that not everybody is. So
I got you.
But it's something that you said it earlier. You said it great. Average Joe could do it.
Yeah.
And be a champion at it. And it's something that other people, because we work at axe throwing venue, they have like when they see us throw, like either if we're throwing with them or we step over to the other lane, or they do the expert challenge, they have to respect that, like that we've mastered this. And just that mastery, no matter who you are, you got to respect it. You have to say that person put in the time, put in the work, and said, I'm going to get good at this thing. And that's what we did.
Well, and I think the coolest things is, here at Broad Axe, we have like the old world championships on the screens looping and showing, and people, I'll watch my groups turn around and watch them throw, be like, oh, you see that? See how he just stands at the line and just,
right.
Because they're doing their step and throws either one-handed or two-handed. and they look and they're like, that throw is so different. Let me try that. And it's just so accurate. They make it look so easy. And then I can be like, do you want to see it in person? Do you want to see that throw in person? And then go up and do that throw. And for them, it's just like, oh, the dude that took my drink order just did, like, so. And I'm like, yeah, you could do it too. You put in the time, you put in the effort. That like for me, one of the biggest things that I've kind of been thinking when I think through it in that lens of anyone can do it is, and people, even people with limitations. Now, I would not say I'm a very limited person. I keep up with my peers. I keep up with the people around me. I do my best to not let my ailment define anything about me. I might be the purple hands guy, but there's so many other things that I am that doesn't overshadow anything else. It's just the funniest or whatever.
As a matter of fact, you never mention it. You never seem, you just drive on.
Yeah. When people do, I'm like, yeah, I'm sick. Like, I've got an illness. And then I just move on. Like, I'm like, yeah. They're like, your hands are purple. I'm like, yes, they are.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't know that. Like, but the cool thing when you think about axe throwing in that lens of like, if you were dealt a crappy hand or whatever, I think purple or not,
yeah.
You know, I think through like, I am someone who like was out of school for like, there was one time I was out for like more than a month. And that same kid is now going to the world championship in a sport. Like, to me, that's so cool. And the only way that's possible is because axe throwing allows it. The way it is as a sport allows someone like me to do that.
Yeah.
And you can't find that everywhere. You can't find that a lot of places.
Well, you are going to the world championship, and it's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm not super.
Hopefully it's not cold.
Right. So if it's not cold, you're going to have some sort of plan about, what you're going to wear there. Mm-hmm. Do you wear exclusively axe throwing gear?
I need to get like a axe throwing hoodie is what I think I need.
I know where you could get one.
Where could I get one?
You could get one at AxeLife.com, or at AxeLifeGear.com, and click on shop. And Josh has pulled it up over here. You'll notice, I know that you're already rocking those sunglasses.
Oh yeah, I've got the
when
sunglasses.
You pulled up today.
Absolutely.
When you pulled up today, I saw you were wearing them.
Yeah.
But you could also find shirts, hoodies, sweaters. I don't think they have gloves on there or anything.
Not yet.
Not yet. Hey, so AxeLifeGear.com. We need hand warmers, branded hand warmers.
Yeah. Depending on how well I do at the World Championship, I'll even autograph them.
Oh, that'll be great. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where you can find gifts and merch for all the axe throwers in your life. So AxeLifeGear.com, click on shop, and they would definitely appreciate your support. So,
I mean, I won't lie. I've got, I think, 4 different pairs of sunglasses in my car, and no joke, the Axe Life Gear ones are my favorite. When I'm putting one on, if the suns come out while I'm driving, those are the ones I throw on.
Well, honestly, it's not because, they're cool or they're the sponsor of the show or whatever. It's, how sometimes you get sunglasses and they're just tinted too dark, and you're like, okay, well, this looks like that's too dark. It's not bright enough for me to be wearing. These are like right in the middle.
They hit a sweet spot.
Yeah. So, and yeah, they're my go-to as well.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah, I've got these aviators that are my second favorite, but I always grab those. The aviators that I have are for they're slightly before dusk glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're the least tinted that I have. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to summer when I can wear them more.
Yeah.
The sun comes out and, maybe go to the beach.
Yeah, I'm going to wear my Axe Life bikini. The mankini.
I don't want to see that.
Well,
I don't want to see that. I don't want to. That's in my brain. And I
well,
want
yeah,
that
and let's not go to a
Talking
Florida
about
tournament
mental
together.
fortitude. That's tough.
Yeah, you just got to throw better power through that one. Speaking of the World Championship, so you had a you made it on qualifying throws. You're the only person that I've ever personally known that has made it in qualifying throws. Congratulations for that. And I did talk, I told the story on the last podcast. We'll talk about it now. And and how the qualifying throws went and the ramifications of that. I told the story about how your qualifying throws went last podcast, but let's I'll let you tell the story, because maybe I was hyperbolic or something. Who knows?
Let me set the scene. It was a cold and no, just kidding. Yeah, no, the funniest, I actually haven't really told anyone this part of that story, but the funniest thing is I remember coming in that day and you were like, you want to do qualifying throws? And at this point I tried all year to get pro status and try to get a pro bid. And I fell short there. Like I did not throw better. I went up for at least the 28 and consistently hit around the 52 average going up for kill shots. And then I turned and I was like, well, maybe circuit points, and I missed it there by a little bit. I was just under, I think.
And had you not thrown for all those kill shots,
exactly,
you probably would have made it in circuit points.
Most likely going up for those kill shots didn't help me with the circuit points. So it was kind of like in both areas I was just underneath, but because of both areas I was just underneath. So after all that, I was just kind of like, man, I would have loved to polish off my first year of competitive axe throwing with a world championship bid. And then I was like,
so that was your goal.
That was my goal.
Okay.
I thought it would be, my original goal was just to do as best as I could. But then about halfway through the year, I was like, I might could get it. I'm right there. I'm right there. So I was like, that would be, the icing on the cake would be a world championship bid. Just to polish off that first year of throwing. And then it came to qualifiers. And I remember, Dylan was talking about, how like randomly great scores will just come in. And I'm like, I don't know if I can throw. It's like random miracle throws if these insane scores are coming in. And so that morning when you were like, you want to throw some, I was kind of like, why not?
Yeah,
like that was my mentality. Because
I was throwing the big axe qualifier, so we swapped over all the targets, and it was like, hey, we got fresh boards up, and this is a great time to do qualifiers. And spoiler alert, I had a laughable big axe performance, and I did not make it. But lo and behold, let's do some hatch qualifiers.
Yeah, so going into it, I learned very quickly that I just didn't like being recorded. Like, there's one thing being at a tournament where there's the live feeds and stuff like that. That's one thing. But having the like, all right, this is Aaron Corbin throwing his qualifying throws. This is Vinny doing the judging. Here's his scores, Bob. Bob. And then here's the first, like, getting that like detailed, like,
it's like that Black Mirror episode where they're recording everything you do and chasing you around. Yeah.
I was just like, I don't like this. And my first set shows it. Like, those first 10 throws were awful. I don't even know what the score is. It might not have even broken 40. I missed both kill shots, and it was bad. And then I remember, I think you were like, shake it off, and already in my head I was like, shake it off.
Yeah.
Find
Next
it,
set.
find it and go. And so started throwing, and I luckily I shook it off. And
dude, you caught fire.
I stayed, went 4 bowls, go up, hit a kill shot, or throwing at the bowl 4 times, go up for my kill shot, and just found that rhythm of like 4 down here, 1 up here, 4 down. And luckily I found the spot for my kill shots. I found it. And after those 2 first misses, I just,
hit every kill shot.
I hit every kill shot after those first 2. And then those next 3 games, go on. And then we get to the last set. I think I don't remember the scores. I know I threw 161 in those 3 games somewhere.
You did.
And then I remember you stopped and was like, hey, Dylan, what does he have to throw? And Dylan was like, a 61. And you're like, okay, 61, do it. And I was like, man, like, golly, okay. Yeah. So in my mind, what went through my mind was 3 5s is all you have. I honestly did
That's
not.
a good way to look at it.
I did not even think about kill shots at all. Not in a cocky, I'm going to hit them, but it was just like, in my brain, I was like, I think my subconscious was like, if you think about it, you'll think about it. So don't think about it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even register like, oh, you're going to have to go up for kills. So I do, I threw 2 5s in the first 4 throws. I remember that because I was like, oh no, this is not good. Go up, I hit the kill shot. Last set of 5 throws. Throw the first 2, so 6 and 7 bullseyes. I remember hitting a 5 on throw number 8, and I was like, well, I have 2 throws left. I have to hit this bullseye, then I have to hit this kill shot. So I hit the bullseye, I think barely. Like, I think it was one that we were like, ooh, but then like went up and like, okay, you nicked it. And then went up and hit the kill shot. And then after that, I just felt like the weight of the world just like, whew.
Yeah, and then we go into, you go into the extra throws, which are 10 kill shots,
10 kill
and you went
shots.
8 for 10 on that.
I went 8 for 10.
And here's the thing. Turns out that we were wrong. You actually had a little bit more of a buffer than having to throw that 61. So, that's just the way it all sussed out.
Yeah.
We were just based on historics.
But even then, I still wasn't in the top 11. I think I ended up 13th or something 13th, like that.
13th, I think, yeah.
So, but
a couple more bids had come in.
A couple more bids. But I remember after that, after throwing, I was like, so does that mean I get a bid? And y'all were like, well, no, there's just a good chance you'd have one. There's a good, or you said, not even a good, you said there is a chance you have one. Well, I was like, I threw as good as I could. I was proud of my qualifying throws. Yep. I was like, even if I don't get a bid, that is a performance
you have a shot at.
I can be proud of. I gave myself a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get the text from Dylan a couple days later with the picture of it, and then you text me later like, congrats, bud. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, you got it, man. And now so now you're going to experience the wonderment that is the World Championships. And the way it worked, basically the QT guys, you're going to be seated pretty much
at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah, you're going to be at the bottom of the totem pole, which means, in regular tournament play, that means that some of the highest seeded people are going to be seated against the lowest seeded people. And so now I'm just to make you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last year, I was in the exact same predicament that you were.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have enough circuit points to make the World Championships. I didn't get pro bid and get it that way. I threw my qualifying throws. I thought I put up pretty good score, but then I did it in like the first week of QTs, and then all of a sudden, like the last weekend of qualifying throws, all of a sudden, like everybody put up ridiculous numbers.
Well, and I think I did my qualifying throws, I think, the day before it ended. So we had a pretty good idea of what I needed to hit.
Well, and it was my first competitive season then.
Yeah,
and it was like, I didn't really even know what I was doing.
Exactly.
So, but then last year, there was the last chance effort, which was regionals. Mm-hmm. Every region would put on a regional, and the top 2, the first and second, I think it was first and second, got bids. So went down to regionals in Orlando, Florida, and wound up winning regionals.
Kick some axe.
Yeah. And so I made my way into Worlds. Pretty stoked about that. And then it was explained to me, before you start setting your short-term and long-term, because one of my short-term goals was just make Worlds. And then once you do that, then you start making different goals of what your World's performance is going to be. I'm not delusional. I'm not going to say my goal is to win Worlds, in my first competitive season. So I set a goal, which I thought was pretty.
Scratch that out of my goal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just make it gravy if it does happen, Exactly. But my goal was to not go 0-2.
And that's mine.
Yeah.
That's mine.
It's a fair goal, so just not go 0-2. And I thought most likely that was going to be, you're going to lose your first match. You're going to get bumped to B bracket. Just win that one, and then you've met your goal.
Yeah.
And I got seeded against a guy that was consistently in the top 10 every leaderboard, and he's an Atlantic thrower, Uncle Ronnie Patterson.
Yeah.
Once I found, and the thing is, I was actually supposed to play somebody else all the way up, and then the bracket changed the night before. Actually, I thought I'd missed going to my bracket because I was in the second bracket that day, and they were like, your bracket changed, and I was like, I hope it wasn't to the morning bracket. Anyway, I was supposed to play somebody really good, and then wound up, and then the next thing you know, I'm paired up against Ronnie Patterson, and the thing is, it's like, first game of any tournament, you're not warm yet. You got to get those. Yeah, you're pretty good at knocking off jitters in the first round of anything. I've seen you at tournaments. I've seen you at league, and it was just, it came down to kill shots, and I happened to be on, and I won my first match. So that my 0-2 thing, I'd met my goal. I wound up going 3-2, and I was like, you know what? That was a pretty good world championship for me. And now I see what it looks like. I know what it feels like. I'm going to be better prepared for the next one. And the next tournament that was of that magnitude was Pro-Am. Well, actually, of that magnitude is in the exact same arena, exact same halls. I was better prepared, and I was able to apply the knowledge I had from Worlds to Pro-Am and be able to win the prelims. So, you take it for what it's worth. In that, I said it was a short story, but it wasn't a short story.
I mean, I think that's kind of my mentality going into it. Is I've thought about, that the theme of that story of no one's warm yet. My hope. This isn't my strategy, because I would be dumb to make my strategy based off of just hoping someone else doesn't do well. But my hope is just like, if I do get placed against someone who's, in the top, whatever, they look at me and think like, this is
a pushover.
Yeah. Like, I'm just gonna sweep the first round, and then I'll worry about game 2. That is kind of my hope.
Well, I'm going to look directly into this camera right here, and I want to tell whomever, you ready? Let's switch on. Here we go. All right. Just so you know, if you get seated against Aaron Corbin in the first matchup of Worlds, he's been preparing. From the day that he got that bid, he's been preparing for the World Championships, and he's putting up numbers right now. Be afraid of Aaron Corbin. So I don't want to be placed against you right now.
Can I say something?
Please do.
Okay. Don't listen to him. Think it's a walk in the park. Listen to me. Listen right here. Don't practice. You're gonna beat me. It's all fine. Anyone as we progress, think
that you got
don't listen. Don't listen. You've got it. I believe in you. You've got it.
Get drunk the night before.
If you want to drink during, I can hold your can and just kind of hand it to you whenever you want to drink.
Shots.
But that's kind of my hope, is just like
preparation is a great strategy.
I'm throwing every day. I'm trying to record. Like I said, I'm trying to get to a point where I can consistently hit those 60s. I want, even if I do go 0-2, which my goal is to not, but even if I do, I don't want them to be easy.
Yes.
I want whoever I'm going against to be like, oh, I had to fight my way through that.
Sure.
And then, my other thought is just have a good time. My strategy going into it is throw as best as I can. I want to get to the point where, like, it doesn't matter who I'm throwing against. It doesn't change my mental anything. Sure. It's just like, I get into my own world when I'm throwing. I try to not focus on what someone else is doing. I try to not worry about that outside of just like, if I should go up or stay down. That's when I kind of focus on what the other person. But besides that, in my head, I'm just like, I'm at league. I'm throwing for the best I can. I want to leave with the best average. I want to do, XYZ for myself. I'm not going against someone in those moments. I'm going against myself. I'm trying to push myself to have a better score than I did the game before, or that I want that to be I want it to be to a point where someone's like, you know, if I do win a couple different games, well, what was your game like this person? Like, I couldn't tell you. I don't know which game that was because I wasn't there. Like I was throwing against myself. I don't know what game you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's how it is now with all my like previous tournaments. Is like I'm like I don't remember who I played.
I've got some. There's a few matches that I'll never forget though.
Fair enough.
There's a few that they stand out. There's some that kind of fall out in the wash, but there's a few that stand out as.
I mean, I'm saying this
good and bad.
I'm saying this is my goal. I'm not saying it's going to happen because even thinking back to the tournaments I've been to, there are a couple where I'm like, oh, I remember who I was playing, and I remember not doing well, or I remember like the one in Florida where the guy that took you out, I had to go play next, and then I like won that, and I was like, I avenged you, Vinny. Like I got,
Yeah.
But then you beat the person that put me in the B bracket, so it all kind of
it was
worked
weird.
out. It was so funny.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up. I'm really excited that you were. Thank you for sharing something personal.
Absolutely.
It's not always easy, and I'm excited that you're excited about this sport. I think when people realize kind of what you told us, that anybody could throw, anybody could win, and
Absolutely.
I think that type of attitude will get more people into the sport. We'd love to have them.
I would hope so. You know, I'd love to see everyone, axe throwing, woo, like that. I think seeing something rise in popularity, something that you love, something that you enjoy, something that you want to see flourish, because that just comes with more challenges, more opportunities, more people that
more personalities,
more personality, more. It just comes with more.
That's right.
So.
All right. Well, great conversation. Thanks for having it with me. Want to thank our sponsors, AxeLifeGear.com. We want to remind you that we're on Spotify. We're on anywhere that you get your audio podcasts. If you want to see us, then check us out on YouTube. We are always posted to Facebook. Like, share, subscribe. And until next time for this Real Axe Talk, we'll see you again.